Chaos abounds in Thailand as the military has officially executed a coup d'etat and removed the caretaker government from power. The military has also imposed a curfew and suspended the constitution. This came as there were ongoing talks between political factions. CCTV's Tony Cheng was there when the decision was made to take over. He joins us live from Bangkok with more. Tony.
Thank you very much. Yes, you join us now. It's 5 a.m. local time. The curfew that's been holding overnight has just broken, but Thailand will awake to some confusion. We saw 3 days ago the military come out, announce the imposition of martial law, but they were very clear this was not a coup. Over the last 2 days, we've been monitoring and reporting the factions involved in the political conflict over the last 7 months who've been brought together by the army. We expected those talks to conclude yesterday. We were waiting for the participants to come down. We ourselves were expecting to speak to some of them to find out how it had gone. Instead, what we saw was the army suddenly taking over. This was the moment Thailand moved from martial law to full-blown military coup. Heavy troop carriers rolled into position, blocking the entry and exit points to the army club. Well, there's a sudden show of force here. We were seeing the participants in this meeting leave when suddenly these army trucks came into place and blocked off the road, the exit. We don't know who's still inside and who's left, but these soldiers are heavily armed. They seem very tense. We're not entirely sure at this stage what's going on. Soldiers in full battle dress, carrying machine guns and assuming combat positions. This was not the soft coup we saw 3 days ago. Inside the hall, those who'd been invited to the talks were no longer guests. Anti- and pro-government protesters alike detained by the army. After failing to find common ground, the army commander said he had lost patience with both sides. But this was premeditated. The troops had been waiting long before the warring factions arrived for the talks, although some had clearly been kept out of the loop. Is this a coup?
Sorry, I'm not talking anything, and I don't know anything.
You're an army spokesman. No. Is this a coup?
No, I'm not the army spokesman.
You are an army spokesman. You've been acting in that capacity for the last 2 days.
No. I'm not the army spokesman.
Can you tell us what's going on here?
I'm just the head of the press conference. If I know, I will tell you.
Why are there armed men?
I didn't see any scene at all. Please go back to the Kamlang Ek Hall. I'm telling you the truth. That I don't know anything at all. You are the people who see the scene, but I'm in the hall.
So we should interpret the scene as we've seen it.
I don't know who is arrested.
The press were pushed back. The army has shut down 3,000 radio stations and 14 TV channels since Tuesday. The media in Thailand has been muzzled. Then the confirmation arrived as television screens across the kingdom showed the face of General Prayut, the commander of the army. A coup had taken place. The government has been deposed, the constitution suspended, said the general, who was now in complete control. Outside, traffic flowed on the highway under the watchful eyes of Thailand's new rulers. The caretaker prime minister is on the run. He had evaded the trap set by not turning up. And General Prayut has briefly solved Thailand's political problems, but plunged the country into a much deeper crisis that will now take years to resolve. Well, Thais are now going to be waking up to a country that is under the full control of the military. I think at this stage no one's entirely sure what that's going to mean. We've been wondering since martial law was imposed what the status of the government is. We now know those that weren't caught yesterday are on the run. They've been told to report to army headquarters by midday today. As for the running of the government, well, that's now going to be in the hands of the army. One would imagine at some stage they're going to impose an interim prime minister. But once again, this takes us from a political crisis that's been a terrible stalemate for the last 7 months into a crisis that now goes much deeper.
Tony, clearly you've been out there in the middle of everything. What has the reaction been from the anti-government protesters?
Well, the army was very quick to surround both protest camps and basically shut them down. They sent in buses. We understand some shots were fired at the red shirt rally, although we understand those were fired into the air. There weren't any casualties up there. However, huge disappointment certainly from the the red shirt pro-government rally, those who are being sent back to their homes by the army. The yellow shirts have also been dispersed as well. The army says this coup was necessary because they had brought together both sides, and both sides had refused to find any kind of a resolution. But I think the greater problem here is going to be that they had an elected government that was voted into power a couple of years ago by an overwhelming majority. The army has now removed that government. We're back at square one, back to where we were just after the 2006 coup, and I think to get over that, it's going to take a very long time.
Tony Cheng reporting live from Bangkok. Thank you for that.